Welcome back to Pregame.com's continuing coverage of the Preakness. We're going to put in this section, there's a lot of new contenders that show up for the Preakness every year. We call them the new shooters. They didn't race in the Kentucky Derby. Some of them maybe didn't have enough money to get into the Derby. Others just bypassed the Derby, pointing specifically for this race. And Dave, there's several new horses that, are interesting propositions. One of them is Sway Away. I know you kind of like this horse, so I'm going to let you take the lead on Sway Away.
Yeah, Sway Away, number 6 post position, 15-1 on the morning line. Garrett Gomez, the jockey. Now, this horse just missed having enough earnings to make the Kentucky Derby field, and I think it would have been a very interesting long shot if he had made it. Had a 4th place finish in the Arkansas Derby, in which rallied nicely, actually got the lead in the stretch, and then gave way late, but definitely a sign of a horse that was starting to peak at the right time and would have been, like I said, very intriguing in the Derby if you thought it was coming into the right form. Now it gets a couple extra weeks of rest, of development, seasoning from the trainer, and I think this one could pop at a price.
The one thing I'll say, Sway Away comes out of, you mentioned the Arkansas Derby, and a lot of the horse experts, and myself included, think that one of the best prep races this year was the Arkansas Derby. We had Arch come out of that race. We had Nero come out of that race, and we saw how well Nero came back and raced in the Derby. So, Sway Away actually had the lead deep stretch in the Arkansas Derby, and then ended up getting 4th place. That final 16th, he got collared. But interesting horse, like you said, maybe missing the Derby ends up being a plus from him. He comes in a little bit fresher and see what happens. I can't knock the horse. I had a couple other horses that I thought were intrigued me a little more. And one of those horses will segue right out from the Arkansas Derby is Dance City. This horse finished 3rd in that race. Lightly raced horse. He's only making 5th career start. He's improved in every start. In that Arkansas Derby, he chased fast fractions, and he was sitting 2nd throughout most of that race. What I like about the 3rd place finish was really quite impressive. I talked about the 2 horses that finished 1-2 in that race, Arch, and Nero. This horse got bumped in the stretch. He was on the rail not once but twice coming down the stretch. And that's one of the beauties, again, we talked about it when we did the Derby, of being able to go back and look at all of these videos over and over again. A lot of horses don't like to be down at the rail when there's 2 horses side by side. There's they're claustrophobic, excuse me, down at the rail. The horses don't like. This horse was at the rail. The horse that was outside of him drifted in, actually hit him, put him down, further to the rail, regained his stride, was moving forward, and it happened a 2nd time. Now you say, well, why wasn't there an interference or an objection? The fact is the horse that did the bumping finished behind him, so it didn't matter. But it definitely hurt this horse's ability moving forward. I think he would have been a clear 2nd without the interference in the Arkansas Derby, and that horse that raced 2nd in the Derby was Nero, and we saw how well he raced. So this horse has a license to jump up and race big today in the Preakness. So I think he's one of the most intriguing new shooters to consider.
Right, and both out of the same key race there.
Absolutely. Moving on to other horses, you've got a horse, Mr. Commons. I don't got a lot to say on Mr. Commons, so I'm going to let you take the lead on him and tell us about him.
Yeah, drew the far outside post, 14 post. Again, not as devastating as an outside post would be in a Derby, even though Animal Kingdom won from the 16. So, as I always say, if a horse is right on that particular day, it can win from anywhere. And Mr. Commons in the Sanity Derby, closed, finished 3rd. Again, another horse that wasn't quite ready to make a run in the Derby, but again, I still much prefer Sway Away among the new shooters. But again, Mr. Commons also is one of those horses, just has license to improve, and so I'll definitely be using him in my exotics underneath.
Only 4 career starts. This will be his 5th, so definitely you can see a big jump in these horses sometimes, when they don't have a lot of starts, they're green. They've not peaked yet, so we haven't seen his best. The only knocks that I would give, the 14 post, generally at the Preakness, he's a horse that needs to be near the, not too far off the pace. So I'm worried that he may have to use a little bit too much of the horse if he wants to go out and grab position somewhere. I don't think he can go with the speed in the race, but he likes to be in that stalker position. So where he gets away is going to have a lot to do with him and how much he has to expend to get to the spot that he wants. Great trainer in John Sheriff, so good barn connection there. The only thing they can say, though, the Santa Anita Derby with Midnight Interlude winning that race and then racing as poorly as he did in the Derby kind of tarnishes a little bit that Santa Anita Derby with some of the handicappers. That would be the cons to him, but he will be a price, and he does have a license to improve, so I can't shoot the horse down. But I just was looking at some other places. One of the other ones for me, Dave, is the horse at the rail, Astrology. And what I like about this horse is the horse did have enough earnings to get into the Derby, but they decided in today's age, owners, and believe me, as an owner, when you got a chance to race in a big race, sometimes you wanting to race in that race clouds your judgment, and you might just place a horse in a race that's over his head because you just want the thrill of that race. I've done it. I'll admit it. You always say you can't win the race if you ain't in it, but these guys showed the discipline. They could have went to the Derby. The owner and the trainer agreed. They didn't think the horse was quite ready to take on that company. So they went ahead. They raced in the Jerome. They had a nice second place finish in that race and just took the Derby off the table and pointed here to the Preakness. I like that. The horse has been training good coming into this race. Has Mike Smith, got the rail, going to be able to save some ground. He's a horse that is another one that has enough speed to get out and get where he wants. Doesn't necessarily want to be on the front end, but wants to be close enough to the pace, a stalker. So if he can use a little bit of early speed to get out there, be sitting in that second tier, he may have the jump on the closers and might be able to hold some of them off and, maybe grab. I don't think he can win this race, but I think he can sneak on the ticket.
Yeah, and that's one of the main things you want to find in these big races is, that one long shot that not as many people are on, because that's where you really get the value to blow up the tickets.
This is a horse that does have 7 career starts, but he only has 2 this year. So he is nowhere. We haven't seen his best for this year in any stretch of the imagination. So he could be sitting on a monster race. We don't know, but I think he's 15-1 in the morning line. I think he'll get overlooked a bit in the betting because the betting's going to go around to some of these other horses a little more notable. Might be a nice price underneath in the exotics, and especially the tries and the supers.
Good luck for using.
And the next horse, the last one that I had, and this is real short on this horse, King Kanji. This is a horse that if you ever want to look for an angle of somebody that's got something to prove, the jockey on this horse, Robbie Alvarado, Dave, this guy, he had to be sick on Kentucky Derby Day. Those of you that don't know the story, he was the original jockey on Animal Kingdom. Had an accident, I believe, was it Wednesday of Derby week? And he decided to take off all of his mounts Thursday and Friday just to rest up and be ready for the Derby. Doing that, he thought he was doing the best interest of the horse. Unfortunately for him, the managing partner of Team Valor that owns Animal Kingdom was worried that he wouldn't be ready for Saturday. If he was, might be a little gun shy after the accident, not riding since Wednesday. He decided on Friday to make a jockey change and took him off the horse.
And of course, adding to that was that Uncle Mo scratched which freed up John Velasquez, the jockey, and Uncle Mo. If Uncle Mo hadn't scratched, maybe Barry Irwin would have given more time for Robbie Alvarado to make sure that he was okay. But instead, he saw that Velasquez was available. He jumped on him, and yeah, poor Robbie Alvarado left out in the cold.
The unfortunate part for Robbie is he did race on Kentucky Derby Day in the undercard and won a race.
Right, he won a stakes race.
So it's got to be, if there's anybody who's got a chip on his shoulder and might, try to have the, everybody tries to have the drive of their life, but I think he's going to be just slightly a little more motivated. And I won't say he'll do it, but boy, I'll tell you what, if they're in tight quarters and his horse is done and Animal Kingdom's on the inside of him, good luck getting out.
Oh, another thing with King Kanji also is another horse just like Animal Kingdom that's shown a lot of good form on turf and on synthetic racetracks.
Question.
And if he can take it to the dirt, that could be the next Animal Kingdom.
Might be a nice long shot angle for you. I think I'd throw a couple savers in there with King Kanji. But those are the new shooters that we were looking at coming into this race that have some possibilities. We're going to be back in the next video. This is the video you're waiting for. We're going to try to put all of these together, tell you where the logic is, where the best horses may lie, and get you the winner for the Preakness. So we'll be right back.